We're talking about the grand artist on chapter 1. Actually, we got 3. Grand artist, spotter, master builder. Right?
Yeah, those are the 3 categories broken out in the book.
The first thing, which is the grand artist, I think you mentioned you're driving down the mountains, and that's your commute to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got your Lion's coffee, inching your way. Tiptoeing was a word, I believe. But tell me about the scenery, bro.
Yeah, I think the introduction to the book and, kind of reflecting off the title, Builder of All Things, I wanted to introduce immediately like what that meant to me, and I think I wanted to start off with just my experience here on the islands that I didn't have coming from Illinois, because in Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, it was flatlands. So I wasn't used to seeing mountains in the horizon. Everything's flat, and it does something to you, and when you are around that type of grandness, and it was very impactful for me. And just knowing that I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to experience that every day on the way to work, and I don't take it for granted. And so, just using it as a grand example of just, being a builder, being a business owner, we build things. And, I've been part of amazing opportunities and projects that are significantly big, 10,000 square foot homes, and that grandness can also carry a grand weight, and responsibility and just fear of failure and things in that matter. But, just looking at the mountains on the way to work every morning just reminds me of not like how insignificant we are, but how insignificant my big problems are compared to this grand mountain, and remembering and reminding myself every morning that there's somebody greater, somebody who's built something bigger. Looking at these mountains are like, they're just so grand compared to these little houses, and so, as I go to work every morning, I smile when I look at the mountains, knowing that there's a greater builder, a grand artist, let's say, that's, knows the bigger picture. If you look at somebody who's built the mountains and then kind of continue that to the galaxy, to the earth, to the distance from the sun, to just this overall design and making everything orbit and work, it just puts me at ease knowing that there's a larger picture and operation happening to my little thing that seems so big, and it helps me kind of minimize these challenges or weights that I feel, know that there's somebody else watching in there.
There's one of the things I live by, Richie, is don't make mountains out of molehills. So like with the little things, little problems, sometimes I tend to make it big than it already is. But I think shifting it into perspective, which this chapter's, this book is all about. I think this is a tangible way of doing it. It's like seeing the mountains and kind of resetting your perspective on life, and like you said, the jobs and the hardships and all of the tasks and goals that you have. It's kind of just small right now, and it's like really nothing to worry about it because someone else has this in his hands.
And that's the key. It's an experience I shared when I really was able to identify why I looked at the mountain, and it really painted it's like God used a moment in my life to paint a picture to me what he was doing by showing us the mountains every day, and why they don't move and why they stay there.
Interesting.
And so I had a project in Southern California, really hard project because of a situation of taking over somebody who originally started the project and coming in and just having to redo everything. And it was a significantly large project. And I had to be away from family, not for a full year, but like weeks at a time, every month. And, being away from, just Tiffany and my wife and just the business operation. There was just so much, so many challenges and so much weight just piling on every week as we continued, not just in the job itself, but just on the backdrop as well.
For sure.
So it was like double whammy, right?
Yeah.
Just like I was getting punched from the front and the back, and I was just like, and I want to say that, you know, the journey and the destination was very successful. We completed the task. We killed it. The house was like, we landed the plane softly, you know, and it just had all the bells and whistles. It was just an amazing project, amazing client. But during the journey of it, it was so hard. You know, no, seriously, man, it was so hard. And then I remember one day, and this is on a mountain, right? This house, like it's in the back of a cul-de-sac is how you say that. You know, is its own lot. I forget how many square feet though. I think that home was like 11,000 square feet. But it was, you know, we're touching every inch of the house. I'm using subcontractors from California, so I had to do a lot of research and meetings and negotiations and bringing people in and trying not to have them upcharged because of the neighborhood and just trying to keep within a budget and a timeline. And it was just, you know, it was really stressful. And because I got, you know, the builder of all things with me, you know, I was able not to really show that too much in the forefront, but inside and everything, you know, happening with operations and in the back end, I'm not there full time and trying to do it from a computer late at night. And it was just a lot. So I share all that, you know, as I was driving down at the end of a day back to the hotel from that job one day. You know, it was one of those days, man, I just felt defeated. You know, I felt like, you know, it just wasn't going the way I planned that day. I felt like not the client was disappointed in me, but he's just one of those days where he was even a little like, felt like the project was a little off track that day or whatever. Sure. And then there was some crazy stuff happening in the back end and the company. And then, you know, my wife's missing me and she's sharing that. And
just a lot.
It was a lot, man.
Sounds a lot.
I felt like totally blitzed, man. And so I was just driving down the mountain and feeling it. I was feeling the weight, bro. And I just, you know, I remember looking up, you know, I just, all right, I'm going to pray on this house, pray on me. And I looked up and I saw the mountain. And I saw how small the house was because it's so big when you're there, right? But the house looked like this, man. And I looked at all the other little houses and I just laughed, bro. I was like, I think I say this in the book. It was like looking at scattered Skittles on a golf course. You know, it was like, God's such a grand artist. He painted a picture for me that day that just said, look, man, look how big I am. I got you. Like the mountains became his hands, you know? And he's like, see this house you think is so big and all this weight? He's like he's holding one little Skittle. I got you. You know, I got you. And that's what I saw at the mountain. I just saw him grab a little Skittle and say, don't worry about your little problem. I got it. And that was the moment, man. I was like, you know, I have a sense of reverence for the mountains because when I look at them, I feel like, you know, the builder of all things, he's got me. He knows the bigger picture. He understands. And it just gave me a sense of rest, peace, knowing I'm on the right track and just continue course. Right. And so, that was the moment.